everyone, welcome to my channel. Here on the Sheenapreneur channel, I share information about government contracting, veteran business content, and other business tips. What's going on, everyone? It is Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran. I know we had a live last night, but I'm back and I have such an awesome special guest, Miss Tuwanda Rush Williams, who is running for Superior Court Judge of Gwinnett County, is in the building. This is like a super privilege. I was like, oh my goodness, I done made it to the big leagues, because this woman and her story is so dynamic and so powerful. I had to have her on the show with us so she can share what she's doing and what she has done with procurement, because it's so interesting, so awesome. So Miss Tuwanda, again, I thank you so much for being on. Please tell us about yourself, how you got started, day zero to now, and like a condensed version. If you can.
Okay, well, so very quickly, thank you so much, Sheena, for the opportunity to show up on the show today. Hello, everybody. I am Tuwanda Rush Williams, and I am excited to be here today. I am running for Gwinnett County Superior Court Judge, not just because I have 31 years of experience practicing law, although I do, and not just because I'm well-versed in over 25 areas of the law, which I am, but because I care about the people of Gwinnett County. So I started my journey as a private practitioner lawyer way back in 1992. And in that capacity, I worked for a solo practitioner, and I handled criminal law cases, family law cases, personal injury cases, and workers' compensation cases. And I enjoyed that, and I did it for 4 years, and I had a son, and quite frankly, I never saw him because I worked all the time. And my husband was feeling like a single parent. So I made the difficult decision to leave private practice and go work for government. And that was in 1996. So I went to work for the City of Atlanta Law Department. For 9 years, I was there, and I was promoted twice. And my departments were the Department of Procurement, as well as all of the public safety departments. So police, fire, corrections, the sheriff's office. And it was a lot of fun, especially defending City of Atlanta police officers.
Yeah, you talked about that a little bit when I met you. So yeah.
Yeah. Yes, but I love officers. I love police officers. They have a very difficult job, and they get paid very little money to do it. And you hear stories about, defund the police, excessive force. There are some bad police officers, but there are more good police officers who want to do the right thing. And just like us, they want to be able to go home to their families at night. So I love police officers. I have much respect for them. So after working for the City of Atlanta for 9 years, I came to work in Gwinnett County's Department of Law, and I worked there for 18 years. And I was even promoted from a senior assistant county attorney into deputy county attorney. And what that means is I was second in command over 5,300 Gwinnett County government employees.
Woo! I love it. I love it. She was a lady in charge, for sure, without a doubt.
So I supervised and trained other lawyers, managed their work, as well as represented all of the 14 Gwinnett County departments, as well as those on the judicial system. And of course, one of those departments was the Department of Financial Services. And under that department, there is a division of purchasing. So did purchasing for 18 years in Gwinnett County government. And last May of 2023, I had to resign my job in order to run for Gwinnett Superior Court Judge. And people might ask why. Simply because I defended the judges of Gwinnett County on all 6 courts when they were sued. So it was a conflict of interest for me to keep my job and simultaneously run to become a judge. So I currently work part-time at the law firm of Thompson O'Brien, Kapler, and Nasuti in Peachtree Corners, Georgia. Peachtree Corners. And I actually represent the city of Norcross, Bryan County, and some other smaller cities handling local government work. So that's my story.
She's seen it all. Like there's nothing that okay, so we're gonna get into all of it, like about purchasing, because those who don't know, that's who is making a decision on whether or not a contract is gonna be canceled. Do we have the budget for this? Will we ever have the budget for this? I mean, I'm even a little unclear the intricate details when it comes to purchasing. I know that usually when I go to drop off my hand delivered bid, it's at the purchasing department. I know that. So that is where all, everything is just the curtain is open in that office. And so you have the details of some crazy, I'm sure, cases that you saw since you were defending, right? You were defending the department itself and the people in it. Mm-hmm. Is that accurate? Okay. So kind of sort of. Yeah.
Yes. So that's accurate.
Okay, because I don't even know what that really looks like. And so I'm excited to hear about it. I didn't even want to hear about it until we got on this call right here. So I wanted to say first, hello to Chef the Flavor. Hello. Side Hustle 24/7. Hello. And make sure you hit like when you come in. And make sure you drop Tuwanda in the chat, because she is the lady and she's about to share some intricate details about purchasing. So I want to know, like, we're just going to jump right into my favorite question. What are some of the craziest things you've seen that, if you can, maybe not share exactly which agency specifically, or which department specifically, if I'm saying that right, that you've seen that they have done on their side that maybe shouldn't have been done?
Specifically about procurement or about anything?
Oh, hey, let's start with anything.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So I represented police officers for 27 years, 9 years in the city of Atlanta, 18 years in Gwinnett County Government. And one of the worst things I ever saw was something that was done by two of Gwinnett County's police officers. It involved a young man. He was only 21 at the time, who was stopped. It was a traffic stop because he was weaving, and he also ran a stoplight. And the officer who stopped him was a supervising officer, and he ordered the young man out of the vehicle. And when the young man got out of the vehicle, he hit him in the face with his elbow, which is not a maneuver that is taught. Yes. There was no reason to use any force at that point because the young man was compliant. But it gets worse. So after he hit him in the face with his elbow, he then told him he was being arrested for basically driving erratically and running a stoplight after he determined that the young man did not have a valid license. So he put the young man in handcuffs and had him lying face down in the prone position in the roadway on Sugarloaf Parkway.
Wow.
And yes, Sugarloaf Parkway, young man had handcuffs. He was laying face down, and he called for backup. When the backup officer arrived, that officer jumped out of his patrol car, ran over to the young man who was in handcuffs, and stomped on his head.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yes. Which is clearly excessive force. And that was the worst thing I ever saw.
And you had to defend? Did you have to defend that police?
In that case, I could not defend the police because both officers failed to follow the training that they received regarding use of force, when you can use it, and what's a reasonable amount of force. And they violated county policy on use of force. And when that happens, then we would decline to defend the officer.
Ah,
In fact, we fired both officers.
see, and those are
And
the stories that we don't usually hear.
yes, both of the officers were fired within 48 hours of the incident. We had all the evidence we needed because there were uh, everyday residents who saw all of this, and they pulled out their camera phones and they videotaped and they dropped off the footage to the police department headquarters. So we
So,
fired those officers, and not only were they fired, but the officer who stomped on the head of this young man was actually prosecuted and convicted. Yes. And
thank
sentenced.
goodness. And
Yeah.
so, I'm sorry, because I'm like, that's a lot. But so one, she is this is Georgia, obviously, so Gwinnett County. So you see Traveling Lifestyle said, what county is she in? I will have my family in that market vote for her. So thank you so much for that.
Thank
That's
you.
exactly why. But it's even more important because now that you're running for Superior Court judge, how important is that? That when those cases happen,
Mhm.
I'm sure there has to be a lot more than just the attorney, the factor, because some of the things, not everything goes to court, right? Like some things
That
are.
is correct. That's
So
correct. In
yeah,
fact, most cases don't get to the courtroom because, as defense lawyers, I was a defense lawyer. I defended police officers if they were worthy of a defense. And as a defense lawyer, oftentimes you're able to win those excessive force cases or
mm,
unlawful arrest cases on what's called a summary judgment motion. Because if you can show that the use of force of the officer was reasonable at the time that he or she took the action, then there's something in the law called qualified immunity, which means you can't hold the officer liable even if he used the wrong judgment, because at the time he did not have the benefit of deliberation, right? He had to make a split second decision. And even if that decision was wrong, if the force that he used was reasonable to an everyday person, then he gets off. The case goes away. And a
wow.
summary judgment motion gets approved by the court, and there's a ruling to let the officer off. So probably, I would say 95% of the unlawful arrest cases or excessive force cases that I handled, I won on a summary judgment motion. So they never even got to trial stage.
I
Um,
see.
yeah, and some people don't like that, but it's difficult making a decision as a police officer when you don't have the benefit of deliberation. And in hindsight, you may say, "I wish I made a different decision,"
Yeah,
but it was the middle of the night. The guy was reaching into his pocket. I couldn't tell whether he was pulling out a cell phone or a gun.
yeah.
And so I made a quick reaction, and it may not have been the right reaction to tase him, but that's the circumstances I faced at the time.
And we got to think about, I'm military, so a lot of people who are in the military become police officers, or they do it part-time, or they do it, in conjunction with their military service. And so, we don't hear about the police officers that are actually prosecuted. And I'm not going to give my opinion one way or another. I'm just giving we don't hear about it. And so those things are happening. And it's so important to have someone like you who is, empathetic and, especially when it comes to, racially charged cases. And we need more people like you who are like, not happening. This is not going to happen. We have to make sure that we're doing the right thing and we're not using bias. So with that being said, what is one of the craziest cases you can think of when it comes to procurement?
Um,
On the agency side, or
we
maybe
have
even,
so we have very little procurement lawsuits, very
Mm,
few. Usually it's a bid protest lawsuit, meaning that you had two companies who submitted a bid for a project, right? And one of the companies is deemed responsive and responsible, which means that, and that's the legal standard, right? Which means that this company is responsive, which means that they have shown that they can meet the material specifications for the job, right? They can do the job. They've answered all the questions. They have the skill to do the job, and they've submitted their bid. That company also has to show that it is responsible, right? Which means it has the capacity to meet the job, right? They have the right number of employees. They have the equipment if it's a construction project. They have the experience that they have done projects like this of similar size and scope in the past, right? And then you may have another company who submits a bid for the same project, and that company is responsive but not responsible, meaning that they have not done projects that are similar size and scope in the past, or they may have been debarred in another county because they did not do a project correctly, or there were problems with the project. And so oftentimes the company who did not get the contract will sue the county. They'll file what's called a bid protest and argue that I should have gotten it because my price was lower. I quoted a lower bid price. And so that was a common type of lawsuit that I saw in Gwinnett County as well as the city of Atlanta. So I wouldn't call them crazy lawsuits. They were literally lawsuits in which the company was trying to fight for the award, right? It's like, I can do this job, and I had a lower bid, and why was I disqualified? And so they will file a lawsuit, and they'll ask a superior court judge to cancel the award to the other company and give the award to them.
Yep, go ahead.
But that never works, because there's case law out there that says that even if the government was wrong in awarding the contract to the other company, the only remedy available to the protesting company is bid prep costs. Because the government is not going to be required to cancel a contract that has already been awarded by its governing board. In the case of Gwinnett County, the Board of Commissioners has already awarded the contract, and a notice to proceed has already been issued. The court is not allowed to cancel that contract because it's already been awarded by the Board of Commissioners. So if they find in favor of the protesting company, they are limited to an award of their bid preparation costs, however much money they spent to prepare their bid to apply for the project.
I did not know that. That seems like a significant difference between federal and local.
It is a big difference.
I preach local, local is where we live, but man, okay. So with that being said, I'm going to assume that it's different for every state, county, city. And so you're saying for Gwinnett and the city of Atlanta, the only thing you getting back is your $69.99 you sent your FedEx.
That's right.
Proposal in, and that's what you're getting back. But I guess it's better than nothing. But I never, and it costs, doesn't it cost? I know for DeKalb County, it costs to do a protest. It's like $1,000.
Yes. Well, you have to file the court filing fees, so you're filing your bid protest in Superior Court. We do have an informal protest process in which the frustrated bidder can request a meeting with the purchasing division director. And it's simply an informal face-to-face meeting to say, hey, I feel like I should have gotten the contract. My company should have gotten the contract. We had the lowest price for this project. And that meeting, that informal meeting, has to happen before the Board of Commissioners votes to award the contract. Because once the Board of Commissioners votes to award that contract, that's it. That company who got the award is going to go on with a notice to proceed, and they're going to do the job. And so if that meeting, that informal meeting, doesn't happen before the board awards that contract, then that company who is frustrated is pretty much out of luck, because no court is going to order the undoing or canceling of that contract that's already in progress and awarded.
Okay, I got to unpack that for a second, because I'm like, well, how would you ever know? Because with me, I'm not going to say what county, but I had a contract where we were determined to be the lowest bidder. Nothing had been awarded or anything, so we're just waiting. And it had already been canceled a year prior. It was put back out. We bid on it, was determined to be the lowest bidder. They said, okay, you have to make a couple of corrections on something, but it can't come to find out there were other companies that had to make some corrections. So it's not like we were not, responsible or anything like that. And so it was put in the county meeting notes, the intent to award it to another company. So it technically has not been awarded.
Right.
So that is that time period that Tuwanda's talking about, is if you get wind that you are not going to win, because that's very rare that they might even discuss it, or you have access to the meeting notes that a company is going to win on something that, you also bid on. So I want y'all to really understand what she's saying. If you happen to find out, then you can request a meeting. Now they might say, go and get somewhere, you're not getting a meeting, but that's that only time period, because any other time, it might be awarded quickly and you don't even have an opportunity. So that's really, really important. And I wanted to go back as well when you said responsive and responsible. This is something that I learned the hard way, Lord have mercy. So responsive is exactly what she said. It's you answered everything in accordance with whatever the criteria was, but I actually got referred this is for a federal contract, but it's still the same thing. I got referred to the SBA for being non-responsible because financially.
Yeah.
So it was okay, you've done some Q projects, but you haven't done a $10 million project. So what's going on? The SBA has to determine before they say no. They have to determine that you are responsible, like you can handle this stuff right here.
Yeah.
So that was something really important I wanted to cover. Also, when you mentioned debarred from other counties, so do y'all talk like, hey, DeKalb County, don't give Sheena's company nothing, because we have problems with her proposal, even though she was the lowest bidder. We have problems. Do y'all talk?
Yeah. So yes and no. So anytime you bid on a Gwinnett County project, you have to provide a list of references. And usually it's a minimum of 3. Sometimes it can be 5. And we will contact those references. And if we find out from Fulton County, this company has been put on our debarment list for 3 years because they took too long to finish a project, or they did a terrible job on this construction project, so they're not eligible to bid on any projects for at least 3 years, then we will not award that contract
at all
to that company. No, because that basically shows that the company is irresponsible.
But what about the other 4 references? What if there were good marks from that?
Well, if they've been put on a debarment list, that's a bad sign, right? Yeah. And I know they may have 4 other good references. What they need to do is not list any reference that is not going to be a positive reference.
And it's kind of funny that you have to say that, but it's just like with a job. They're like, oh, you quit your job and you hated your boss hated you, and then you put them down as a reference. It's like that. Don't do that. Don't do
Don't
that.
do that.
Yeah,
Right.
even if that's the only one you have, just
you want to have people that are going to say good things about you. But sometimes, you may have only done a few projects, and so you need to list every project you've done, and you've got to be able to show that you've done projects of similar size and scope.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where it gets tricky. And sometimes I think that companies will submit a bid and a list of references, hoping that we don't actually call them all.
Sometimes
but
they don't.
Gwinnett County will call them all.
Yes, Lord, they sure will.
No, that's
the truth.
The way it is.
That's the truth. We got a couple of questions in here. So, okay, what all contracts, agreements does Superior Court handle? Do you have experience?
That's an excellent question. So, Superior Court handles all kinds of business contracts. Gwinnett County, just like any other county, will handle any contract dispute between businesses. They also handle bid protests that we just talked about earlier. They all go to Superior Court. The state of Georgia now has a business court, so that two businesses that are in a dispute over a contract can actually submit that case to the state of Georgia's business court. The problem is that it costs $3,500 to file a lawsuit there, right? As opposed to $280 something here in Gwinnett County. So it makes sense financially to file your suit here in the county where the dispute exists, as opposed to going to the state route business court option. Large companies that have a lot of financial capital tend to file their suit in business court for Georgia, but your smaller companies would be better suited to file their contracts in Superior Court. So all kinds of contracts, to answer the question, all kinds of contracts or lease agreements can be filed in Superior Court. Any kind of dispute. Yes.
Got it. Okay, cool. So we have another question from Deborah Williams. She wants to know what makes you more qualified than your opponent. So I know what I want to say, but I want her to answer. Go ahead. And I want
there's so many things. I'll try to sum it up quickly. The biggest thing is that, unlike my opponent, I'm well versed in 25 areas of the law. Ooh. My opponent's primary background before she was appointed to a lower court as a magistrate judge by a handful of judges was criminal law and family law. And they are big cases in Gwinnett County Superior Court. And I have experience in those too. But she does not know anything about handling a contract dispute or a property tax appeal or a condemnation case or an inverse condemnation case or any kind of a civil rights litigation matter or any kind of elections lawsuit. All of those matters are heard in Superior Court. That was not her background as a lawyer. It was criminal law and family law. And people don't often think about all the other areas of law that are heard in Superior Court. And I have experience in those areas. So that makes me more qualified than her, simply because I just know more areas of law. I've also practiced law twice as long as she has, 31 years. I think she's probably around 18 years or something like that, or 16 years. And more importantly, my involvement and longstanding ties to Gwinnett County. So I practiced most of my legal career here, 19 years I practice here. And I don't just practice law here, but I have done hundreds of hours of community service here in Gwinnett County, working with nonprofits such as the Gwinnett Giving Girls, helping other people be empowered, Family Promise of Gwinnett, and then through my sorority, the Gwinnett County Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I've been a member there 19 years, and I was just recently the scholarship committee chair. And under my leadership, we awarded $65,000 in scholarships. So I don't just practice law here. I actually serve the county in which I live. And I think if you want a judge to make decisions, you want somebody who's invested in the county where they serve. So my years of experience, the breadth of my experience, and my long-standing ties to community service in the county is what sets me apart from my opponent.
And that was the exact next question. So you answered it right there. So definitely she's here, she's home, and with the things that you explained when we talked before, I don't even know how you have time to do it all, but I definitely appreciate what you do for Gwinnett County as a Gwinnett County resident. So I wanted to also ask, as far as some of like businesses, you talked about like the business court, and then of course us baby businesses over here. Okay, what are some of the things that you see where businesses fail in, when you see them going, doing a bid protest, when you see them go to court and you're like, man, I wish they just had whatever that is? Where do you see some of the smaller businesses fail from your
That's a good question. And I did want to follow up on the last question. I forgot to say that I was also the first African-American officer of the Gwinnett Bar Association. I'm a Leadership Gwinnett grad, so I'm very familiar with the Gwinnett County community, and I forgot to say that. So areas where I see businesses fail. Honestly, our smaller businesses have a very difficult time getting a contract from Gwinnett County because they don't know how to prepare a proposal.
Wow.
And every single year, Gwinnett County does a workshop called How to Do Business with Gwinnett County.
Yeah.
Every single year. And they invite businesses from everywhere, not just Gwinnett County, but all over the state of Georgia, to come in, and they will talk about what needs to be contained in a proposal, right? Or what needs to be, how do you get the contract, right? And oftentimes smaller businesses don't know how to spell out their experience, right? Be able to explain in detail what projects they've successfully completed and be able to put it in their proposal to show how that experience relates to the project that Gwinnett County needs to fulfill. They just don't have a very detailed proposal. And that is something that I always advise smaller businesses to do, which is to either come to the annual How to Do Business with the County seminar, or just reach out to the purchasing division director, Holly Cafferata is her name, and say, can I schedule a meeting with you? And can I see some of the proposals that you've received so that I can emulate them when I submit a proposal? Because remember, Gwinnett County government is just like any other government, which means that it has to exercise transparency, which means anybody can see any documents that are filed with Gwinnett County. The only thing they cannot see are sealed bids until such time as the project is awarded or it's canceled or abandoned, right? But once that project is awarded, that entire bid package is subject to be reviewed by anybody who wants to see it. And so I always advise smaller businesses to actually come in and inspect proposals that have been submitted by companies that do the same thing that they do. If they're a landscaping company, say, I'd like to see some proposals of landscaping companies that have been successful and you've awarded them a contract. Because you need to see what they put in their proposal so that you have it in your proposal. So that's one area where I think small businesses fail, is that they try to go it alone and put together a proposal or a bid instead of looking at past bids and proposals that have been submitted to the county.
That is the gem of all gems. That answers like 99.9% of the questions that I get. It's usually the same. So Traveling Lifestyle said, how do you get started? She just gave you the answer. Go to your county and ask for the flipping proposal.
Yeah. Period. And you can make an open records request.
Open records request.
Right. To see any and all proposals submitted to the county within the last 2 years or however period of time. And then they'll have to give you an estimate because it is 10 cents a page. Or you can just come in and inspect it and not actually make copies of anything, because you can literally come into the county, sit down at a table and look at bid packages or proposals and write down ideas, right? Say, oh, I see this is what they included in theirs and they were awarded the contract. So that's how you get started is whatever your industry is, make an open records request to see the documents if you want to receive them in the mail and you're willing to pay for them. You have to pay for the time it takes to pull the proposals and bids and make copy, and then it's 10 cents a page. Or you can just pay for the time it takes to pull them and make an appointment to come in and look at them.
That is, I didn't even know you can go in and be like, excuse me, I need to see this. But like how that gives you the answers. People like, I don't know how to do a proposal. I don't know how. She's giving you the answer. And it doesn't have to be the county where you're bidding. It could be anywhere because, I mean, you can gather all this stuff. A lot of this stuff is going to be redundant after a while. And some of the stuff is not that challenging to do. You just don't know how to write it out. And so you just compile all that stuff together and put it in a nice, pretty package and then adjust it based on whatever proposal you're going after. And you have the answer. You don't even need ChatGPT. Nope. You don't even need ChatGPT. You got the real answers for people who are winning. See, this is y'all don't even understand how many gems there was in that whole statement. So let me just say hello to Recreated Designs, always a supporter. Jackie Coleman said, you got receipts. We know she got receipts. Yes. And Renzel said, wow, she's a gem. She is. I told y'all already. So we have another question. Gloryland Entertainment, so are you a partisan candidate?
That is an excellent question. So when you're running for the position of judge in Superior Court, you cannot declare a political party. So I am running as a nonpartisan candidate, which means that my name will appear on any ballot you pull. So you pull a Democratic ballot, I'll be on there. You pull a Republican ballot, I'll be on there. You pull an independent ballot, I will be on there. Judges are not allowed to declare a political party because in the judicial canon of ethics, we are not allowed to align ourselves with a political party. The job of a judge is to follow the law and to be fair, to be impartial, to exercise good judgment, and in my case, to show compassion because everybody's story is different, particularly when you're talking about criminal law issues or family law issues. You need to consider the person's circumstances. Judges do not make decisions through rose-colored glasses. They bring their own background and experiences into the job. So excellent question, but I am a nonpartisan candidate, which means that I am not able to declare a political party and I appear on all ballots. And I'm also running for an open seat. That's important because sometimes people think that my opponent is the incumbent because she is a lower court judge in magistrate court. But what she does is she hears primarily criminal law cases and family law cases instead of the Superior Court judge to whom the case is assigned. But she has never been elected. She is not the incumbent. Both of us are vying for a seat that is going to become empty at the end of the year because a judge is retiring. And so neither one of us have ever been elected to anything other than I was elected an officer in the bar. That's it.
That's important for sure. That's definitely important. So, okay, with that being said, you have a lot of awards and a lot of them have really, really cool names. And so I want you to tell me about your favorite award.
Honestly, my favorite award that I ever received was the Spotlight Award from the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers. So way back 2008 and 2009, I was asked by the statewide president of the Georgia Association of Women Lawyers to be the statewide chair of membership. So what that means is that I literally traveled around the state trying to increase the membership of the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers by encouraging lawyers in that particular city to form and to have a chapter. So that was my job. When I was asked to be the statewide chair of membership of GAL, stands for Georgia Association for Women Lawyers, we didn't have a chapter in Gwinnett County. And I was literally traveling into Atlanta for the meetings that the Atlanta chapter had. So I went to the president. Her name was Christian. Her name is Christian Torgerson at the time, and I said, Christian, I need to create a chapter in Gwinnett County where I live, because quite frankly, I'm tired of driving to Atlanta for meetings. Seriously. And she said, oh, you do? She says, okay, then do it. So I did. Oh. And I literally reached out to all the women lawyers that I knew, and I pitched creating a chapter here in Gwinnett County, and I did it in March of 2009. And as a result of that, the statewide GAL gave me the Spotlight Award.
Look at that.
Wow. Yes, in 2009. So, and I say that I'm most proud of that award because the Gwinnett chapter of the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers is thriving. It still exists today. We've had hundreds of members. We do lots of projects with Partnership Against Domestic Violence. We've done clothing drives. We've also partnered with wills clinics and done free wills for people. Wow. We've done cell phone drives. We've partnered with human trafficking agencies such as Street Grace and Tabitha's House, Because One Matters, which takes care of kids who are in the foster system with providing their needs. So I'm just very proud of the Gwinnett chapter of the Georgia Association for Women Lawyers that I started.
Look, you get snaps. That's so awesome. Amongst all the other wonderful things and all the other trails that you blazed. Okay. I appreciate you for sure. I just want to go back to a couple of things because we're going to wrap up here shortly. But another thing that you mentioned besides the open records request that you guys need to really, really understand is that the counties, the states, the cities, even on the federal side, they have different events of how to do business with them. You guys are asking me, which you should ask me, but they are telling you exactly what they want. They are telling you exactly what they want. And you guys are like, I'm not going to go to that. I don't want to do that. And some of them are even virtual. So they're telling you exactly how they want you to participate in doing business with them. And that's something that you need to take advantage of. So even if it's just, meeting people at that event, say you know everything, right? And you just meet people at that event, you can actually meet some potential partners in the future. So I'm going to cover this question or this comment really quickly, and then I'm going to ask my last question.
Can I piggyback a little bit of what you said, please. Sheena?
Yes.
So you're exactly right, because a lot of times smaller businesses are able to partner with larger businesses to accomplish a project. So if you meet a contractor of a large business at one of these events, and we say, look, you need subcontractors on this project, then they will reach out to the smaller businesses to subcontract on those projects. So you're exactly right that you should go anytime you have an opportunity, even if you know how to write the perfect proposal.
Right.
You should still go because it's a good opportunity to network and maybe partner with a larger company on a project.
And I talk about that a lot, y'all. I talk about, even the certifications at the local level, which are free. They usually work better, in my humble opinion, better than the federal certification. So those companies, if you go there, say you have the City of Atlanta certification and you go to how to do business with the City of Atlanta, you're already certified. Companies are like, oh my goodness, please, I need to work with, I have no choice, because a lot of counties and cities and stuff, they have to subcontract out a certain percentage. And some of them, it's optional, but some of them mandatory.
Yeah.
And so you already certified, you've already, because the certification is extensive. So they're gonna know that you got to be at least somewhat serious if you're already certified when you go to these events and meet these people. So Jackie Coleman said, very similar issue in federal grant writing. People have difficulty writing clear and thorough proposals. Yes, that's very, very true. So she gave you the answer. If anybody wasn't in a few minutes ago, she said, tell them to pull the records. Give me the records. I want the records so I can do my proposal pretty much exactly like that. When I met you before, it was kind of funny because I live and work in the local space when it comes to my company, and you were like lowest irresponsible bidder, and I just wanted you to. What did you mean by that? Like, did you see where usually that kind of bit the county in the butt when they went with the lowest bidder, irresponsible bidder?
Yes. So it depends, right? So by law, particularly under the Georgia Public Works Statute, the county has to award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Price is the bottom line. Where it's bitten the county in the butt is in our request for proposal process, which is RFP, which means that price is not the only factor. And so I've seen where the county has gotten trouble where they have awarded a contract to a proposer who seems to have the best project and the best price, but the best price doesn't always mean the best work. The quality of the work is not good. I can think of one example when I was there not too long ago, where we hired a company to break up a road and replace the sewer pipes under the road.
Oh Lord!
And this was over in Lawrenceville, and it was a mess. They told us that they could complete the project in 3 months, that they would have to, close the roadway and have detour routes around it. Unfortunately, it took a year and 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And when they actually replaced the pipes and repaved the roadway, it was bumpy. The work was horrible. And we had to literally break it up again. They had a very good price, and they were one of several companies that proposed the work, but the work was not good. It was not quality. They did not meet the timeline that they promised that they were going to meet. And when we asked them, why hadn't you met it? They said, well, we're doing this project for DeKalb County, and it's taking longer than we thought it was going to take. So we don't have any manpower to devote to your project. And we said, yeah, but you said in your proposal that you could meet this timeline,
False promises.
And again, they had a very good price, but what it showed us, how it bit us in the butt was that cheap is not always the best, right?
Even sometimes, in our real lives.
Yes, you need to pay more than hiring somebody who has the better price and says they can do all these other things. So that would be an example where the county was really bitten in the butt because our hands were tied. We couldn't even terminate the contract because the road was all torn up. And so we had to hold their hand to try to get them to complete this road work. And then they had to tear up the road again, repave it. It was a nightmare.
Wow. So that's interesting that they didn't even get fired. Was it because it was just too much money invested already? And
yeah, if we had fired them, it would have been, we didn't have time to try and have a new process, right? A new bid solicitation project where we can actually ask for proposals. There's such a thing as called an emergency contract when you can award a contract, in case of an emergency, but this would not constitute that. An emergency contract would be where, we had some sort of
natural disaster or something.
Yes, right. Where we just picked a company and said, hey, you got this contract and we'll pay you. And then we go back and ratify it with our board of commissioners. But in this case, we would have had to advertise again. and we would have had to receive proposals and score those proposals. Meanwhile, the road was closed and all torn up. So, yeah.
Do you remember how
And
much that project was?
it was millions of dollars. It was quite
Millions of
expensive.
dollars.
Yeah,
For
I
them to
can't
mess
remember
up.
the exact amount. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. That I didn't know they couldn't get fired. That's interesting. But like you said, it was too late to turn back. It's like waiting in line for an hour and you're like, but I really need to get this, this
Done. Yeah, if
tag or
we
this
had fired
license.
him, we would have had the road closed even longer. And then the residents were getting upset with us. We were getting complaints from businesses that were located on the road.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because their customers couldn't access them. So they had effectively had to shut down for a year and 3 months. And yeah, then they basically sued us for inverse condemnation because they couldn't get customers there. It was damage to their business. They were losing profits. It was a mess.
That's why you definitely got to be the judge because you know about all this stuff. I would have never known nothing about that. Wow, that's really interesting. Okay, so you guys ask your last questions because we're gonna wrap up here. And while you guys are doing that, I want you to tell us exactly what you're running for again. You mentioned why you're qualified, but for anyone who came in late, make sure you hit the like button for anyone who came in late so you can catch, exactly what Miss Tuwanda is running for and why she's the best. She got my vote, me and my daughter. So
thank you so much. Again, I appreciate the opportunity, Ms. Sheena. I am Tuwanda Rush Williams, and I'm running for Gwinnett Superior Court Judge. I bring to the table 31 years of experience in over 25 areas of the law. I've been in private practice and government practice, so I'm well versed and I've had a lot of experiences. Just quickly, some of the reasons why I'm running is I'm wanting to curb the number of persons with a diagnosed mental illness that are sitting in the Gwinnett County jail. There are way too many. I think right now there's about 600 people in our jail with diagnosed mental illness. That is not a good place for them to be while they are awaiting trial. These are people who are simply accused of crimes, have not been convicted. I'd also like to, as a judge, increase the visibility of our judges in the community. A lot of people don't know who the judges are because they're just not out in the community. And I would like to see the judges have something like coffee with a judge so that everyday citizens can ask questions about the court in which that judge sits. What kinds of matters do you hear? How do I access the court? Educate the community. I think that is the job because at the end of the day, judges work for you. They work for the taxpayers. So judges need to be available to assist so that people have justice. And then also, I'd like to support survivors of human trafficking. Gwinnett County has the worst human trafficking problem in the entire state of Georgia, simply because we run on the I-85 corridor, which goes directly to the airport. And so young girls, boys are abducted, thrown into a minivan, driven to the airport, put on a plane, never to see their family and friends again. So we need to really support those who survive and the trauma that they face, while also throwing the book at those who commit this heinous crime to the maximum allowed by law.
I really like that coffee with a judge because I told you I don't educate myself enough about, my rights, what I should know, who I should know. So I appreciate what you do. And then two of my brothers are diagnosed schizophrenics. And so, but they're in Massachusetts. And so my brother was the older of the two was, acting out in a non-malicious way. And so instead of the judge put him in jail, they gave him like access to resources, and he's doing fantastic now, considering his diagnosis. And so that was always in the back of my mind, like the judge could have been, send his, he's a Black boy, send him to jail, send him to prison, whatever. And they recognized and understood. And so you understanding and recognizing that makes a huge difference. So I really, really appreciate everyone. There was a lot of people on this live in the middle of the day. Why ain't y'all at work? No, I'm just joking. I know most of the people are business owners, and it's Friday, so you might have today off. But I appreciate everyone that was on, everyone who asked questions. And I so appreciate you, Ms. Tuwanda. I know it's a busy, busy time for you. And election, it's early voting now for Gwinnett County, right?
Yes,
And
yes, it is today. You can vote in Gwinnett County at 10 of the polling precincts until 7 p.m. And then election day is next Tuesday, June the 18th, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at any of the 156 precincts that Gwinnett County has. I would love to have your support. And I will say one other thing. I too have a brother who's diagnosed schizophrenic in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we share that experience. So just mercy and grace.
That's all. That's all we can ask for. So I really, really appreciate it. And thank you, Traveling Lifestyle, because I love you back. I love you back. And we're going to support Miss Tuwanda. And I'm just giving you, all of the well wishes, no matter what happens. Of course, we want you. You won. We claiming that. But in this process, I know it's a lot. It's a lot of work, and so I'm asking for strength for you as well. So, everyone else, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend and everything. So until next time, it's your favorite veteran.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Stay on.